So let's talk about two words that have totally reshaped how we build technology today, Agile and Scrum. We're going to break down what they actually mean and, why you should even care.
Have you ever been on a project that just felt, well, like a runaway train? You can see a problem coming up on the tracks, you know there's a better way to do something, but nope, the plan is set in stone, there's just no way to change course. It's a super common frustration, and it's the exact problem that a whole new way of thinking was created to solve.
All right, so to really get why this new solution is such a game changer, we have to go back and look at the old problem. For decades, software is built using a method called waterfall.
And the name really says it all. I mean, just like a waterfall, the process only flowed in one direction, down. Each stage, first analysis, then design, and then coding, had to be 100% finished before the next one could even begin. There was no going back up the waterfall. It was rigid, it was linear, and everything was locked in from day one.
And as you can probably guess, this created some massive problems. Projects could take years, literally years, to deliver anything useful. And what if you made a little mistake way back in the design phase, but you only found it during testing? Well, fixing it was an absolute nightmare. In a world that was getting faster and faster, this approach was just too slow, way too inflexible, and honestly, it was just incredibly risky.
So, by the late 90s, developers were just fed up. They knew there had to be a better way, a way to be more flexible, more responsive, and a way to actually deliver value to people faster. This frustration led to a huge shift in philosophy, a whole new mindset that we now call Agile.
And then in 2001, a group of developers got together and made it official with the Agile Manifesto. The key thing to understand here is the shift in what they valued. It's not saying that things like processes and plans are worthless. It's just saying that people talking to each other, getting working software out the door, collaborating with customers, and being able to respond to change are simply more valuable.
Yeah, the manifesto itself puts it perfectly. This isn't about just throwing out all your plans and documentation. It's about rebalancing the scales, right? It's about valuing that flexibility and human interaction more, especially in a world that, let's be honest, never ever stops changing.
And this is maybe the most important point of all. Agile is not a rule book. It's a mindset. It's a guiding philosophy. You can't just check some boxes and say, yep, we're Agile now. You really have to believe in these values. So that leads to the big question, right? How do you actually put a philosophy like that into practice?
Well, that's where Scrum comes into the picture. If Agile is the why we do things, then Scrum is the most popular how. It's a practical framework that lets you put that whole Agile philosophy into action.
Think of Scrum as kind of like a simple container for your work. It doesn't tell you exactly how to write your code or design your product. Instead, it just gives you a basic structure. Some roles, some meetings, some deliverables to help your team get organized and tackle complex problems, all while living up to those Agile principles.
And that structure is beautifully simple. It's really just broken down into three core pieces. You've got the Scrum team, which is the group of people actually doing the work. You have the Scrum events, which are all the regular meetings that create a rhythm. And then the Scrum artifacts, which is just the work itself being planned and delivered.
Now, the engine that really makes Scrum run is something called iterative development. So instead of that one giant, scary waterfall, you work in lots of small, repeating cycles. So what does that actually look like?
Okay, so in Scrum, all the work happens in these short bursts called sprints, usually about 1 or 2 weeks long. In your first sprint, you don't try to build the entire car. No way. You build a skateboard, something really simple but functional that works right away. The whole goal is to get it in front of a real user and get their feedback immediately.
Then, in Sprint 2, the team takes all that feedback and turns the skateboard into a scooter. See? They add more features, they fix what was wrong, and they improve on what they already built. The product just gets better, little by little, guided by what the customer actually wants, not by some plan that was written months ago.
And this cycle just keeps going. Build, get feedback, adapt, sprint after sprint. And eventually, you have a fully featured car. But it's a car that has been tested and improved and validated by real people every single step of the way. And that just dramatically reduces the risk of building something that nobody actually wants.
So when you put this whole iterative approach right next to the old waterfall method, well, the advantages become crystal clear.
You're getting valuable software to your customers quickly and consistently. That constant feedback loop means you end up building a much higher quality product that people actually need. Teams are more efficient, they're happier, and the whole process is transparent so everybody knows what's going on.
It really transforms development from this long, risky gamble into a predictable, steady rhythm of delivering value.
So, that brings us to the final, and I think most critical question. Take a look at how your own team works. Are you just following a rigid plan down a waterfall, hoping and praying that you got everything right at the start? Or are you creating a constant feedback loop where you're learning and adapting with every single step? The answer to that question, well, it could change everything.